about that?
Scott, Steve Reed with Associated Press. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You talk about getting Taylor done and how important you felt that was to get that done before the deadline.
He's a cornerstone player on our team, and anytime you get a guy like that done, it's great for the team. He does everything the right way. He's smart. He works hard. He's intelligent. He's tough. Here he is. He's on the franchise tag, and he goes out to OTAs every single day. So that's the type of guy you want to pay and get done. And I felt really good about it. It was great working with Taylor. He wanted to be here. His agent wanted him to be here. I got to say, Samir Suleiman really did a good job during that. He got married, during that time that we're getting the deal done, and he drove across country with his dog, because it's part of the ceremony. So he was in Arizona. He drove 36 hours straight back to get the deal done. So all the way back, we got the deal done with about 8 minutes to go before the deadline. So Samir gets a lot of credit for that. But really, when it comes down to it, Coach Rhule really wanted him here. Mr. Tepper wanted him here, and he's one of our cornerstone players.
Scott, he told us today that he's keeping an open mind. If he's needed on the left side, he'll do it. Is the plan, though, well, what is the plan? Do you think he's best on the right side?
Yeah, I'll let Coach talk more about that. I think they'll probably play him a little bit on the left side, but I think the plan is to stay on the right side right now. That's where he's been. We'll get into camp. We'll see what it looks like in pads and how it all comes together. I think the offensive line is very fluid right now, but I'll let Coach kind of get into the details of that.
You mentioned cutting it close. How worried were you that you wouldn't get the deal done with him?
It came right down to it. It was, about 2:30 that I drove into the office. I'd been on the phone all morning with this agent, really since last spring, but then it got really probably intense that last day, and they called back. So we knew it was close, so I drove into the office. Samir was there. They were working through language, and then, like I said, we got it done. I think it was 3:52, and the 4 o'clock was the deadline. So it came right down to it.
You guys are one of the top teams with vaccination rate over 85%, top 4 teams. How comfortable are you with how Matt and you guys have been able to reach that threshold? And did you say something to the players like, hey guys, if we want to be serious about this, I want you to get vaccinated?
Well, I think the players have done a great job doing that. Dr. Gritter, Eddie Levens, Coach Rhule, our entire staff did a great job educating our players what the vaccine is, how it can help you. I know personally I believe in it. My entire family has been vaccinated, so I think it just helps protect us. We don't tell them what to do. We can't say, hey, listen, you do this, you do that. All we can do is educate them. It's their own personal decision, but I'm really excited where we're at as a team.
Scott, y'all are in a pretty good cap situation. Has there been any thought as to possibly adding any free agents at any certain positions or no? There's some uncertainty on the left side of the offensive line, and maybe you might want to add that position.
I think we're always looking to add players at every position. Keeping some cap space is important to us. There's a lot of planning too. Not just this year. We're looking at next year, the year after, building our model. Who do we want to pay next? So, I know we have 2 or 3 players that are, we're talking to, and that's gonna kind of lead us to where we're at. We do want to save some money. We have to save a reserve in case guys get injured during the season and so forth. But it's nice to have a little bit of cap space right now.
Staying along those lines, how do you feel about the composition of the roster as it is right now?
I like where it's at right now. I think we added a lot of good pieces, a lot of depth this offseason. I think defensively we added a lot of strength, a lot of size and speed to that side of the ball. Skill position-wise on offense, we're in good shape. Offensive line is going to come together. Obviously, we have Paredes and Taylor and some other guys that have been there, but that's probably the most fluid thing. We'll see where it's at once we get into camp and pads. But overall, I like where we're at, but we're never set. We're never satisfied with where our roster is at. We're going to always look to improve.
Scott, you looked at some safeties in mini camp. What were you kind of looking for when you guys did that, and how do you feel about the safety room right now?
Yeah, we're going to always look. We always bring guys in, and we had 5 guys that we could try out. So a couple safeties we brought in. We're going to look to add some speed on the back end. That's kind of one of the priorities that we want to look at. But it wasn't just those guys. I think it was, we brought in a couple of vets. We took a look at them. We didn't sign them at that point, but they are guys that we would go to in case there's an emergency or someone goes down to camp.
Scott, do you anticipate bringing in any competition at kicker? How do you kind of view that situation with Joey?
I think Joey did a nice job throughout the spring. He's our kicker. as of right now, I mean, like I said, every position we're always evaluating. If there's a need, we may bring someone in. If there's a kicker out there that we've liked in the past, we may just bring him in and take a look at him. It doesn't mean anything necessarily to Joey. But yeah, it's always something we're going to be evaluating.
Do you feel like it's important to have competition at every position, just because that's the only one where there's no one else on the roster really competing?
Yeah, we did have 2 in the spring, and then we made a move. Yes, absolutely. We always want competition, and I think you're going to see through camp this year, there's going to be a lot of turnover on the roster, and we're just taking a look at different guys and pushing other guys. And I think competition obviously brings out the best in everybody, and you want to see what guys are like in competitive situations.
Scott, what's an example you've seen of Sam's leadership, and how did the whole vaccination figure into leadership?
I thought Sam did a really nice job throughout the spring with his leadership. He's a guy, when you're walking into the office at 7 in the morning, he's in there lifting weights. He's in there watching tape. Even on players' days off, I see him, he's walking out of the shower. So I think just through his actions, he's shown a lot of leadership. And then, I know a lot's been made out of Sam and the vaccination. He's, I'll let him talk about those things, but all those things work out.
Scott,
he's been.
So he doesn't want to talk about what he said earlier in offseason that he had not been vaccinated. Since then, he hasn't said it. Is that because so much was made about it, or have y'all instructed him not to talk about it, or what?
Yeah, I have not said anything to him. I guess that's something he's done. That's a decision he's made not to talk about it.
Can you say what your rate is right now? Because it was 85 reported a few weeks ago.
I know we're pleased with where our rate's at. I think we want to just kind of keep those numbers in-house, but we're in a pretty good position.
Scott, would Sam benefit from a veteran guy to bring in as a backup?
I think we need to get into camp to see. I think Will's done a nice job, and PJ is obviously very athletic, and he's done a good job. You can only see so much through OTAs. I think one of the reasons why we're doing a couple joint practices is we're going to get live looks on guys, and we'll make a decision at that time if we need to add anyone at not just the quarterback position, but any position.
Was the quarterback position and left tackle, were those critical in those decisions to do the joint practices?
I would say, yeah. I would say that's definitely not just left tackle. I would say offensive line in general. Quarterback, you want to get as many reps, it's for Sam and Will and PJ as you can, just to see where we're at, give them different looks. I think the more they see, the more they'll be comfortable with where they're at. We want to see them blitzed a lot, how they react with that, managing line calls, and a lot of things that you can't do in a controlled practice that you can do in scrimmages, and that's why that was important.
I know the real ROI on him won't come until the actual season, but have you seen glimpses, or what glimpses have you seen of kind of knowing that your investment was worthwhile with him?
In Sam? I think you saw the progress throughout the spring. He's one of those guys that he still has all the athleticism that we saw when he was coming out. He's got all the arm talent. There's some times he looked really, really good. Like, wow, he's making a lot of progress. And then you throw something new at him, he kind of catches him off guard. But then he changes the next day. He doesn't make that same mistake, which is really good to see. And so he showed a lot of growth this offseason, and I think he's really comfortable here, and I think he likes it here, and he feels wanted, and the players have, been drawn to him.
What are you hoping to get out of your first trip here to Wofford, except for a sunburn?
Yeah.
Getting to interact with fans, probably one of your first few times you're able to do that.
Yeah, I think this is a really important time for the players. I mean, they wanted to be here. I think the growth and just being around guys every day in the dorms, kind of going through something, is really going to help them. And this is a very young team, so a lot of them aren't married or don't have kids. So this is a good time for the guys to really bond and come together. And I think this is a great environment at Wofford. They've been, great hosts so far since we've been here. It is a lot hotter here, but I'm pleased with Wofford so far.
Scott, Shaq talked a little bit about how the narrative maybe that this defense is really young, and that might take a little bit of expectations off of them. They're kind of like, hey, let's just go out there and have fun. Do you sense that a little bit when you look at this defensive roster?
I think young is good. When I was in Seattle, we had a really young defense early on, and you can be young and you can play fast on the defensive side of the ball and get away with it. Offense, you need a lot of timing, a lot of reps. Defense is one of those sides of the ball you can go young and get away with it. And so I think the growth that you're going to see through these joint practices, through our training camp, and then into the beginning of the season, you're going to see this defense really take off. We need guys like Shaq and really even Jeremy Chin, even though he's a second-year guy, to show their leadership. I think adding Daquan Jones has been a nice add to that defensive line as far as a veteran presence. So, yeah, I think they're going to take off. It's just getting them to that point.
What benchmarks are you looking at for J.C. Horn to really look like he's coming into his own as a rookie?
I just think he needs to get out there and be comfortable and play. I don't know if there's necessarily a benchmark, but he's one of those just really competitive guys. Once he gets out there, we saw it in the spring where he was able to shut guys down. And a lot of corners, so much is new to him, and there's so much asked of them. But he looked like he grasped it and was comfortable with where he's at.
Scott, how much was adding Hassan to maybe help free up Ryan on the other end?
Yeah, no, that's huge to have that pass rush on both sides, and then Derek Brown and Daquan, our interior guys on the inside. And then with what we're going to do defensively with Coach Snow, that adding pressure on both sides of the ball, it was really, on each side of the line, was really important to us.
Scott, where do you, as you walk into it here, your first training camp at Wofford, where do you feel the best about this team?
I think really probably the skill position on offense. When you look at the receivers, the running back, I like where Dan Arnold, his addition to the team has been. Ian Thomas showed a lot in this offseason. So I think really the skill position on offense. And then the part that I was really pleased with, it was the speed on the defense during OTAs.
Scott, you put Lano on pup. Anyone else who won't be ready to go tomorrow?
Yeah, Lane will be active pup. He had a little foot injury in the spring. I think it's going to be sooner than later that he gets back, so that's why we're going to carry him active. And really, I think for the most part, we're pretty healthy going into the season.
The guys who were out during OTAs, like a Trent Scott and Cam Irving, you expect them to be good to go?
I would expect them to come.
Matt had mentioned that you guys are going slower with Terrace, just bringing him in based on college injuries and all that. Are you expecting that to be more full go now, or is that still kind of very cautious?
I think they're going to test him. They'll ease him into it, just like you would any player coming off injury. They might be ready to go. The player feels like he's ready to go. You just want to be really cautious to not, put a lot of pressure on whatever that injury might be.
When you drafted him, were you kind of aware?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we our medical staff did a great job. We talked to a lot of people at LSU. We knew some things that we needed to do. They worked with him a lot on like his footsteps and how to plant and different things to take pressure off.
So is that why y'all decided to take a chance on him?
Yeah. The comfort level where we're at medically with him, and trusting our doctors and listening to the people at LSU, what they thought of him, how he rehabbed, how he heals, what his past injury history was like. That was all factored into it.
Scott, going into camp, how confident are you in your tight end room?
Actually, I was pleasantly surprised with Ian. He was, he's a guy that we like coming out in Seattle. I thought he really came on. And then really Dan Arnold had a great, OTAs. He showed a lot of ability to get down the field, catch the ball. It looks like he'll be a threat in the passing game. And then Tommy Tremble and the young guys will be coming on. So
some GMs don't want to do contracts once the season starts. Do you have a particular philosophy where that's concerned?
No, I think what my philosophy would be is when the time's right, who the player is, who the agent is, just if it's natural and it's the right time to do it. I'm not going to ever say we're not ever going to talk during the season, or I'm not going to say we're always going to talk. It's just kind of a case-by-case situation.
Hey, Scott, I'll ask one more. I know you probably know the answer to this, but given that you said you'll be in on every deal, there's reports out of Houston that Texans might be willing to trade Deshaun Watson. Has that ship kind of sailed here? I mean, are you committed to Sam?
Yeah, we're focused on the guys that are here right now. We're gonna get Sam and all of our guys ready to play. We're not focused on players on another team. We're just focused on the guys here.
Thank y'all.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Absolutely, guys.
Not reflect heat.
Seriously, I'm sweating.
You haven't gotten in yet.
You guys gotta get some shade. Thanks, guys. We'll see you. Thank you. Thanks.
Good to meet you.
All right.
gone away to a training camp since 2011 or 12 with the Giants. I think it's exactly what our team needs, and I think Wofford. I've been here before, coaching here, coaching against the Terriers, but the facilities are outstanding. The people have gone out of their way, so I think it's going to be a great experience for our guys.
During your second year, last year was unconventional. You had to quantify how much further ahead you are as a coach, and maybe this is as a team, given the offseason and having no OTAs. How would you do that?
I don't know if I put a number on it. I just haven't probably thought about it enough. I just know we're significantly ahead of where we were last year, just from having the offseason. I mean, this time last year, at this very date, I was shaking hands and introducing myself to guys, and so it was just a way different feeling. And I think part of that's personal, and I think part of that is also just football-wise, understanding who guys are, guys understanding us. So I think we'll hit the field, tomorrow, and everyone will know what to expect, and we can get to the business of getting good at football, not trying to feel our way through everything.
Matt, Taylor said that he was preparing to play wherever you guys wanted him to play. Obviously, signed him to the big deal. Is there an idea of whether you want to keep him on the right side, whether you want to move him around? Has that changed at all?
It hasn't changed with the contract. I think the unique thing in the NFC South is some of your best rushers are over there on the right side. So I think we'll probably give him some reps on the left just to see how that plays out. I mean, we're trying to find the best five, and so we'll put him over there. I know it's a challenge he probably would like to undertake a little bit. We did a little bit in the spring, but it's hard to do without pads on. So we'll maybe give him some reps here and there, and then just kind of get a feel as we go of who the other four best guys are. But one thing I do know is if Taylor's on the right side, that he does a tremendous job over there. That's why he got the contract that he got, and so we won't want to weaken ourselves. If it improves us, we'll take a look at it.
You mentioned a little bit, but it sounds like it kind of depends on how the other guys might perform, whether it's at his right tackle spot or at the left tackle spot.
I think it's both. I mean, I think it's we haven't seen him do it with pads on. It's. I've never been to England, but it's like getting on the other side of the car and driving. I'm assuming that's a little bit different. So he's got a lot of muscle memory built on the right side. So we'll go out there, practice. Just like we'll have McCaffrey do some different things, and we'll have some guys go from corner to nickel. We just try to stretch guys, see what they can do, and then find the best fit for everybody.
Matt, with those first five offensive line guys, you talked in the spring about wanting to find which were the best five. When will you have an idea who those guys are? Is that when you go to Indy, after a preseason game or two? What's kind of the time frame in your mind of when you'll zero in on that?
Yeah, I don't have a time frame. I think when you know, and if you're not quite sure, it means you don't know. And I hope we don't know for a while. I hope there's tremendous competition and guys are challenging us to be like, man, this guy's really good. Are you sure he's not ready? So I'm hoping, we're doing 2 joint practices. I don't know how many teams in the league are doing that, but we're doing that. We're a young team. And we need the work against 2 really good defenses. So, when we know, we know. Until then, we'll take it day by day. And, the one big thing for me is, guys have to have some bad days to really grow. And so, we're going to try to challenge guys, put them in uncomfortable situations. And I think if we can kind of emerge from that chaos better, then we'll be a much better team.
Jack mentioned he was excited about those young guys that you just kind of mentioned on the team, and it kind of gave him this new energy on defense. How much are you looking forward to seeing JC and Dante back after he suffered his toe injury, and just that secondary working together?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions in the secondary, but they're good questions. I mean, Sam Franklin played really well at times last year. Jeremy Chin will get some reps back there. JC, AJ Boye, Rashawn Melvin. There's a lot of guys that we like. Taylor drafted this year. I think there'll be tremendous competition at a lot of spots. And so, to me, when it comes to competition, I think if you start talking about it too much, you start predetermining things. I think when I just sit back and let it happen and watch the tape, and so, I'm excited to see it, and I know we're further ahead than where we were. So we'll just play it out, and it's, the great thing about it is, I say little things like, hey, everything counts. Well, when you're in battles for jobs, everything really does count. You got to go out there every day and compete at a high level. So one thing I have to say, and I don't know if I did a good enough job in the spring, but I was so proud of our team this spring in terms of the commitment they made to show up when they didn't have to show up. And so you can tell it's a team that wants to be good. So we'll just, take the same approach in training camp.
Speaking of that, the same approach to the vaccine, because you guys 85+%, one of the top in the league. How did you guys get to that mark? Because Sam back in late May had said he had not been vaccinated. So how did things change?
Guys made decisions. I mean, I think we provided guys with information. There is no doubt that being vaccinated helps our team. The more guys that are vaccinated, the closer we can be in meetings, the more we can be around each other. But at the end of the day, it's still everyone's personal decision. So we provided information. We made it clear, like, hey, this is best for us to operate. But you have to do what you're comfortable with. I'm not here to tell anybody else what to do. And so I think I took that approach. I think I don't really spend too much time hearing what people are saying. But Bruce had said, people are kind of upset that I said that. Well, we're pretty high up there. So I'm really proud of our guys for getting vaccinated. And the guys who didn't get it, you know what? Some of those guys have articulated the reasons to me, and I'm good with it. You know what I mean? So I worry about me and my family, and you know what? I think that approach has really worked with our guys. So.
How much is having one less preseason game affect the decision to have a second set of practices?
It probably affected it a good deal. At the same time, when you're a young team, it's one thing to go out there and get live reps, right, where you're kind of limiting guys' reps. When you practice and it's not quite live, I mean, you think about all the reps our quarterbacks are going to get versus the Colts and the Ravens blitz package, all those reps that they're going to get. And if they make a mistake, they're not going to get knocked on their tail, And so I think it's just a really valuable experience. As the NFL has, as the collective bargaining and all, as we cut back on the amount of practice, whoever practices the best is going to have an advantage. And so our guys practiced well in the spring. And so this is just a chance for us to go out there and get a few more reps against a good quality.
More out of those days than the games themselves?
I haven't been through it to give you that answer, to be quite honest with you. I'll let you know afterwards how I thought, but I think there's something about seeing a guy in a game. I don't care what it is, man. I mean, like, the lights go on, there's pressure, there's TV, like, well, I always say to our guys, like, if this was a Wednesday, you'd play really well. Who can go play when there's a lot of pressure on? So I think the games, obviously, it will always trump everything.
Do you do your conditioning test tomorrow? Or?
It's today.
And is it what we saw guys doing at the end of OTAs, the format?
We never ran the conditioning test, but it is along those lines. So it's not something that's super, super, super rigorous. If you've worked out in the last month, you should probably pass. So, but it is something just, a benchmark. And again, we're here to find out where guys are. At the end of the day, this is a chance for us to ramp guys up, get into next week with the pads on. So we want to make sure that we see where guys are and help them get to where they need to be.
And then a couple of, I don't want to go through your whole roster, but a couple left tackles were out with dings and OTAs. Do you expect, Cam and Trent to be good to go?
Yeah, I expect them to be good to go.
Do you expect, you had mentioned Troy might be limited to start camp, are you still expecting that?
Expecting him to go.
Okay, and then I was curious, which part, not having all of this last year, a full training, like a training camp like this and the preseason games, which part are you most looking forward to is it the preseason games, or what are you most looking forward to seeing?
Today, I'm excited just to get here and get going. So, the thing about camp is the guys who do it the best are the guys who can just handle the monotony. It's like relentless monotony, right? So, I'm pretty good at handling relentless monotony. So, just every day, just the same grind. Anxious to see our guys do that.
I was curious, is Shaq Thompson someone? Has he taken on more of a leadership role? Recently, has he kind of seen him step into that, or has he kind of always been a leader?
Since I've been here, he's always done that. And I think he's a guy that, he's got tremendous integrity. What he says, he actually does. And I think he's a guy that treats people well. And I think he's a guy that's around and takes care of the young guys. So I think Shaq brings a lot to our team and is a tremendous leader.
Matt, Sam was talking about.
I'm sorry.
What do you see from J.C. Horn so far? What do you tell him on those days where he struggles a little bit when he looks a little bit more like a rookie than some of the other guys?
Same thing I tell everybody. Like, the key to being a great football player is when you have a bad play or you have a bad day, or when you have a great play or a great day, like, what percentage of yourself do you play the next play? Do you relax when you make a great play, or are you upset when you make a bad play? And, the key is to be 100% at each and every play. And so, that's a hard skill to teach, but guys who have it, they really can handle the ups and downs and the highs and lows of a season, of a game, of a training camp. So JC comes from a unique lineage. I mean, he's been prepared to be a pro athlete for a long time, so he's very much prepared, and I think he'll come into camp ready to compete.
Matt, Sam talked to us earlier about one of the things he's really worked on this offseason is his balance and not thrown off his back foot, and he's really stressed that. Is that something that you guys wanted to see, and how do you feel like he is prepared entering training camp?
I have no idea how he's prepared. I haven't seen him, so, I'll know as the camp goes on. But, I think all quarterbacks are always – they've got to be masters of their technique, right? They've got to be masters of really their lower half. We focus on their arm so much, but so much of being a great quarterback is from the waist down. And so, you watch the best quarterbacks. They are constantly – going back and looking at their mechanics, just like a baseball pitcher would. And so I'm hopeful Sam did a lot of great work, Will and PJ as well. And the key is then to just take that drill work and bring it over to teamwork and then bring it to the games.
Matt, Shaq particularly singled out Derek Brown as somebody we thought would have a good year. What have you seen from him this offseason, and what do you want to see from him?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. How come we didn't put the me on that side and make everybody else look into the sun? Hey, gummit. No, I'm just. Oh yeah, I think Derek's trying to convert himself from a run defender, power run defender, into a guy that can also rush the passer. He's trying to make that step to become an elite 3 technique, and he was good in OTAs. He has to have a great training camp and have, put together a really good season, and so. I'm not very good at predicting, I think this guy's going to do well, this guy's going to – I expect everyone's going to do well. I expect everyone's going to have their best year. So, it's one of my goals. I want guys when they play here to say, hey, I played my best football at Carolina. So, Derek will be better this year than he was last year.
Matt, Scott said that Daquan Jones has kind of provided a little stability for a very young defensive line room. How much of that have you noticed?
Daquan Jones is exactly that. Him and Morgan Fox, they've come from playoff teams. Daquan was at a team that went 2-14, then flipped it, and went to the playoffs every year and expected to go. And he knows that commitments to situational football, commitments to studying the opponent. It's not just showing up and wearing a cool outfit and being ready to go on game day. It's the work and the grind and the preparation. And so, if you're a young player on this team, you go talk to Daquan. You can't say, "Hey, I don't know what it takes to be a pro." He's a pro's pro, and he's a guy. We brought a bunch of those guys in. AJ, like I said, Morgan, him, and many more. Those guys are pros, and they will teach our younger guys.
Now, in the past, you've used the phrase "serious football play," so something that you really strive for the Panthers to be. Do you feel like packing up, staying in the dorms, doing this type of camp experience makes it more of a serious football place than you got last year?
I think the fact that our players wanted to do this. Our players could have very easily said hey, we don't want to do this. The fact that our players wanted to get away from home, not that they wanted to get away from their homes, but they wanted to come together and unite as a team and go through something hard, be in this heat, be in a unique environment, that they wanted to stress themselves. I think that speaks more than anything else. And, when I say unique football, I'm serious. I want to have fun. I want to do all those things. I like to follow the Panthers on Twitter, and they do all, funny things. My kids love it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when we get in the meeting rooms, the whole, hey, you can only meet for 30 minutes. But nah, you know what? Let's get in the meeting rooms for 2-3 hours. Let's really grind it out. Let's fall in love with the X's and O's and technique. And we have a bunch of guys that I think are doing that. But I do agree. I think coming here and the commitment from the players to come here, I think is really a step forward.
Was that decision put to team?
We're going to do this question, we're going to do that question right there, and then that's it. Go ahead, Joe.
Was that decision put to a team vote?
No. Just guys were very supportive.
They were supportive.
Yeah.
What have you seen from Denzel Perryman? He seems to be a character. He showed up today with his helmet on and then showed us all his speeding ticket that he got on the way here.
I don't know. I love him on the field. He does, and when I say I love him off the field too, he's got a great personality. And one thing I've learned now, just doing this for a limited time, I see some of these guys. I see them on TV with you guys. I see them do commercials, and I see a different side of them. And Denzel's a guy that really loves football. And you know what? I tell the guys all the time, I don't care. I don't care what music you listen to. I don't care. What movies you like to watch on Netflix. When you get in the building, I care about that we all have one standard for how we work, and Denzel's, to me, is a standard setter in terms of his effort and preparation, and it's kind of fun to have some guys with some unique personalities. So,
all right, thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody.
Did he ask for full on his speeding ticket, or
what's that?
Does he ask you if he got some?